Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. It is Thursday, another day in the life of an entrepreneur. And thank you so much again for tuning in. We are here on Thursdays, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, but sometimes we reschedule depending on our guest. So we bring the most influential guests on the show with thought-provoking conversation and everything about how they ventured into they're pivoted into their career entrepreneurship. And I've never had a guest like this on the show. Today is my first that I have had someone so amazing, beautiful personality, very influential. And I hope I get the name right. Gallienne Nabila, fashion model, social media star, influencer. She is known for her amazing personality and beauty. She has worked with some amazing upscale brands, has been seen around many influential celebrities in the industry. She is going to share with us about how she pivoted in her career, her choices, what she's doing, what's coming up. I'm very excited to have her on the show. This is exciting. My very first model on the show, like fashion star. This is so exciting. Anyway, so I want to introduce her and bring her onto the show so you can all meet her too.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm amazing. How are you?
I am so great. It's so nice to have you on the show. It's the very first time I've had someone like yourself on the show, so it's very exciting. Um, so I wanted to actually first start off because your look, I'm sure people ask you about your culture, where you're from, and I wanted to first dive into how you actually got into modeling, because when I kind of researched you a bit, I can see that you did beauty shows and talent stuff like that. How did the modeling come into effect?
So, fun fact, I actually started pageants at the age of 4, which is, so different. I feel like from today's generation, it's like pageants are not really looked at the same way that they were back then. But that is how I started. My mom fully gave me full control. She put me in one because she did pageants as well. And she's like, if this is what you want to do, we'll do it. If not, we don't have to. But I ended up loving it. I loved the idea of traveling when I was young and traveling to different states and moving around and meeting new people. And I always had a very competitive nature as well. So I started off with pageants and I started at the age of 4. And then at the age of 10 is when I signed with my first agency. So it just kind of went straight into modeling for me from there.
Because you said kind of like mentioned about the history of pageantry and modeling. I'm in my 50s. So what I had been accustomed to is back then, and the trend seemed to change, is basically it was no offense, because supermodels are great, but kind of
None.
bland,
I already.
not shapely, that same type of look, and it wasn't really to me, it didn't meet with the times and real people, how they look, how they were shaped, especially ethnicity, multicultural mixture. Do you think that it has changed for the good to identify with people like ourselves, or has it not changed enough?
Absolutely. It has changed drastically. The pageant world has changed so much. To talk about a couple of systems that you guys are probably more aware of, which is like the Miss America and Miss USA systems. Over the years, they become more prone to becoming more about the woman herself and what she brings to the community and the type of woman that she is and the influence that she has, as opposed to physical beauty. So, many systems like Miss USA and Miss America, they went from tiny, skimpy bikinis to wanting to just do fitness wear because it's not about what a woman looks like. And so the pageant industry has shifted completely, and it's actually been beautiful, like witnessing it. I did start in the system when I was younger, when it wasn't so much like that. And I can actually speak for myself that being a mixed female, it has caused a lot of conflict in my life and growth. But it has also challenged me to become better, because it definitely was hard competing in pageants growing up, especially when it was predominantly white women who were competing in pageants as well. And it's a fun fact. I'm half French English, so I'm actually half technically white. But me having the skin color that I had, that I have, it was dealing with like racism and things like that growing up, and being with other younger girls who didn't have the same skin color as me. So it was a whole learning process for me. But I can actually say that it made me better in the long run, since I had to deal with that at such a young age.
Do you think you had to then almost kind of create your own genre because of your look and your style and your body shape, to where you kind of had to recreate and be your own brand and your own identity to see how you're going to fit into this industry? Do you think your genre is totally different?
Absolutely. I definitely feel like when I was younger, it was more of creating my own genre and who I am as a person. And even today, I feel like I still I'm still living in that transition, because the brands that I model for, it's really like cutthroat in terms of like the skinny, really, really tall, high-end designer model versus the more curvy, that you see on the Instagram brands type of model. And I feel like I fit kind of in between there. So it still feels like I'm fighting for that one, like for people to be able to see that middle area. And I feel like it's beautiful too, because that area is growing drastically, because, there's more mixed kids being born every single day. And they say by 2050 that basically everyone's going to be mixed. So it almost feels like I started in that in the beginning of the era, and I was able to grow in that. And it's been a beautiful process, because the ups and downs have definitely made me who I am. So
And more about in as say the modeling arena. So I stalked your Instagram a little bit, and I went on YouTube and I looked at, you have some amazing look, very breathtaking. I mean, at every angle. And so for a woman, everyone, I'd say, for everyone wants, I would say, would want your type of look to be in their future as far as when it comes to brands. Would you say that to our listeners, to what is the different types of modeling? Because I know you do commercial and print. I didn't realize after researching, oh my gosh, there's so many different styles of modeling. And for potential listeners who want to get into the industry, how do you even know where you fit in, or how to fit in, or what look fits into what? I mean, I didn't realize it was so many different genres of modeling, so many types of modeling.
it's so true. There's so many different types of modeling, and I think it all starts with physically what you look like just what area you fit into a little bit more. But then it comes into, modeling being able to be more versatile nowadays. And there's not really, I feel like as if I could be modeling for the super high-end designer brands, as well as like the wholesale brands that you shop on Instagram. And that's the beauty in the modeling industry, especially nowadays, is because I feel like it's making a really big shift into not just what a person physically looks like, but also what they bring to the table and how their influence on the community. And that's being taken into consideration everywhere. That's why you're seeing girls modeling in campaigns now that you probably didn't see 10 years ago. And it's a beautiful, beautiful transition, but we're still in the midst of that transition. So, but there's definitely many different genres that you can get into. I mean, runway modeling is a perfect example. When we talk about, physicality, they prefer a girl who's at least 5'9" or taller, and a lot of women aren't like that. But nowadays, especially a perfect example, Savage Fenty, Rihanna, is really being a very big influence in inclusivity, and seeing all these women in her fashion shows who are ranging from multiple different heights and multiple different body shapes and multiple different skin colors. It's a beautiful thing. And with people like her and people like me, we're able to make that shift, so women are able to feel comfortable modeling no matter what you look like.
I had read someplace, and I just kind of want your thoughts on this. It says that according to Mental Health Foundation with YouGov, in March 2019, one in five adults, 20%, left shame just over, and this is having to do with body image. And so, because of what is portrayed in the media, and we're finding that most people are having to go to social media versus what magazines are showing, because they can't identify with a lot of the high-end magazines as the models that are selling the the clothing and the item, we don't look like that. And
Yeah.
so it makes it more, it seems to, you get more younger women feeling not confident about their physique. But when you go to social media, Instagram, and brands, like you were saying, you kind of see more people like ourselves. And so, do you think that these high end brands need to show more of people looking like ourselves? Like you say, 5'6", 5'7", shapelier, because that's the majority of the people buying these clothes are our size, and maybe a little bustier, a little, have more hip, more butt, because that kind of seems to be where that's the realistic shape of women. Do you think that it's that the you find more people, they're starving themselves trying to get that image, or now saying, it's okay, I'm just going to go right to social media and these brands like H&M because that's who fits me?
Well, I think a couple different things. So, when it comes to magazines, I definitely think this generation has shifted completely, especially because technology advances every single day. So, I think that another thing that we need to realize too is social media is way more accessible and way easier. It is also a plus that we are also able to see more people who look like us on social media. But one thing I wanted to mention to you is there's also a whole other world that I feel like people don't touch on with body image. And people are like, there's curvier women. This is not what we look like, and this and that. But then there's a whole other thing with the women who actually struggle with their eating habits and struggle with their body type as well, that they're actually finding it harder to fit into their clothes as well. So it definitely hits on both sides of the spectrum, which I feel like a lot of people don't realize. There's a lot of women out here who are struggling to eat and actually put on weight as well. So if you're looking at both of those also, I think that we're definitely making a shift towards trying to like meet in the middle, but it's really, really difficult because high-end designer brands are making it very, very difficult to want to join that shift because they're so stuck in their traditional ways. And it's really sad and it's really unfortunate too. But that's the reason why I feel like wholesale is like taking over. All these wholesale Instagram brands that you see that are just like thriving is because not only is it more affordable, but it also fits the body well. And I love to shop. I love to, wear high-end designer as well as wholesale clothes. But wholesale clothes sometimes just look better. And that's what I'm going to end up doing with.
So I, quote on one of your statements that I have dedicated my life to helping people and showing them what they can achieve. If they they look out of their comfort zone and move beyond the expected.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
So I truly believe that the most beautiful things in life happen when you step out of your comfort zone. So, for me, I feel like, especially living in LA, where it's so competitive, there's so many people chasing the same dream, so many people in general trying to chase the same dream. And with me, I do not want to be just a pretty face. I want to bring so much more to the table. So that being said, I took it upon myself to learn about investing, to put my money towards investing, all the money that I've made towards modeling, to be sure that I'm invested in the right things, stocks, bonds, mutual funds. I have life insurance. Be sure that I'm making the right decisions to set myself up for my future. And one thing I've done is women that I work with, models that I'm on set with, I help them as well. And I tell them, like, listen, get your money right. Invest in the right things. Don't let this be your whole entire life because, first of all, modeling is temporary. Okay. Beauty and looks don't last forever. And not just that, I want to know that I bring more to the table. I have substance, I have depth, and I'm smart. I'm not just a pretty face. And nowadays, I mean, model is so loosely thrown around. It doesn't matter if you're signed with an agency nowadays. It doesn't matter if you're on a campaign or if you're on the front of a magazine. I mean, girls are getting paid on Instagram crazy money just for a post, and we consider that modeling as well. So the term is loosely thrown around as well. And all in all, I just wanted to help women understand that you can do so much more than just be pretty. And it's really, really sad too, because I think about the younger generation and the girls who, I feel like I was one of the last, my age, I feel like I was one of the last people to be able to experience, like flip phones and like growing and like not really being on your phone 24/7. They say by year like 2024 that every single SAT test is supposed to be taken on a computer, which I think is like mind blowing. I still was like filling things out. I was writing essays in class and everything. So it's a really, really big shift. And I don't want these younger girls to look on their phones and be on social media and think, oh my gosh, like I need to have a Chanel bag and I need to get my body done. I need to be traveling the world and not focused on, STEM, not focused on their success, not focused on their career, not focused on their growth as a human and as a woman. And, us women, we have so much control nowadays. I mean, we're able to make so much money and do exactly what we want to do without the help of a man. So I want women to get influenced, and just think, oh, all I need to do is be pretty and be able to just be taken care of. Like, no, you need to be able to bring so much more to the table because you can. And not only have I been able to do investments, but I've also been getting into real estate and I want to be able to own multiple properties. By the time I'm 30, I want to have at least 10 properties under my belt, whether I rent them out, whether it's Airbnb, whether it's a business, regardless, I want to get involved in all of it because I want to be able to do multiple things. The whole goal is having a very diverse portfolio and not just being stuck on one sole thing and one sole source of income.
You said so much right there. Let me say why. Because people usually and let's how do I say this? When you see an extremely attractive woman, whether she's and with celebrities, whether they're dating or just seen with them, or no matter what the age is, the assumption usually is that they're just looking at, oh, because they're attractive. And you actually been to college and have a degree, and it's just like you have to look beyond that just because a person is with somebody and because a woman just happens to be extremely beautiful, it doesn't mean that that's the only reason why that person is with that person.
No, absolutely not. And then a whole other thing too is, it's a constant fight of trying to be better and trying to prove that you're different. And you don't want to get too caught up in that and trying to constantly prove yourself like I'm different, I'm better than these people and this and that. That's not the mindset to have, but solely focus on yourself and be like, you know what, I'm more than a pretty face. I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. And if your romantic life, if you happen to end up with someone who is a public figure or does very well for themselves, that should not stop your grind. If anything, it should motivate you even more.
Oh, that's very well said. For now, I know that now because the look of models have become more fit, then more wavy, more skinny, more thin, and a lot more people are the different type, their body shape is being more muscular and more toned. If there's any type of brand for your size, your shape that you would love to work with, do you think that what would that be? Any type of diner brand that you would like to connect with in the future that could be potential for you?
Me personally, so I actually am very into fitness, and that's another thing that I mentioned as well. But I think that goes along with everything else that I mentioned about being more than a pretty face. Is I actually don't go to the gym to try to look good. It's not just for my physical health, but it's actually for my mental as well because we will get very, very lost in the society. And if you really, really know that certain things in the bodies that these girls have, and that let's just say they go and get may get certain things done, you cannot always build that in the gym. So a lot of people don't realize too, a lot of these women who are promoting certain things and saying do certain workouts and everything, you don't know exactly what they did, which is fine. All respect to them and what they want to do with their body and their life. But these younger women are getting influenced by those things. But one thing with health is like it's very, very important. It's a very big effect on your mental health. And so I love when women are able to get in the gym and be a little bit more fit and push themselves a little bit more and not just do the regular basic workouts. And touching on what you said, I feel like it's a really big shift right now because it's between fitness and also between very curvy and thick. And so I feel like there's a really it's like kind of back and forth right now. But health has been one thing I love though is over the last, I feel like 5 to 7 years, health and wellness and fitness has become really, really important. People are actually taking the initiative to get up, go to the gym, eat healthier, be more health conscious. And living in LA, I mean, it's crazy because it's this, I feel like LA was doing this before a lot of places where now everyone else is catching on. I mean, my mother used to always, she's like a Southern belle, and she used to always tell me, she's like, drink your whole milk and, eat your steak. And then I'm like, no, Mom, this is not okay. Like, I had to learn on my own and, traveling out and living my life and growing the way I have. I had to be able to turn back into my own family. Like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be, and that comes with growth and with culture and with traveling. But yeah, I totally understand. I think that we're all making a shift, in the right direction, but it's scary. You don't know exactly how to go about things sometimes. But with health and wellness, like, you're able to take over and do a lot of things.
Have you thought of even mentoring, because you have such an influence and because of just how you speak? It's very transparent. I think it can connect with anybody, especially within the youth industry. And you have an amazing following. Have you ever considered that for upcoming people who are younger, like wanting to get in the industry, or just even if they don't want to get in the industry? Because I think what you say can be extremely helpful.
So, touching on being transparent, a lot of people think like, oh, she has followers, she's thriving, she's traveling, she's working, she's productive. But I still struggle with insecurities, and just like any other woman. And I really do want women to realize that all these women and everything that you see on Instagram, everybody posts their absolute best day. Okay, so don't get caught up and think that, oh, this person's life is perfect, I need to do everything that they do to be just like them. It doesn't work like that. The beauty and growth comes from your imperfections and who you are solely as a person. And I think for me, I absolutely would love to help women and mentor. And it's funny because I actually already do that with a lot of my close friends around me. But at the end of the day, it is scary to be able to get on a very big public platform and try to mentor, younger women. But it's like, you don't know what specific people are going through in their life. I'm a very considerate person, and I always like to have consideration and empathy for those around me. But you never really know what someone's going through. There's even things that I could say that may be very judgmental to other people. And, speaking of, that's something that I'm actually even currently working on. I want to be able to be completely free of any judgment and be able to listen to people and be able to give the best advice that I can. And I feel like that just comes with growth. But in the meantime, I actually am in the process of starting my own YouTube. So I actually plan to open up a little bit more so people can see that there's more to me than just being a pretty face, that not just about making the best moves as an entrepreneur and growing as an entrepreneur and making something out of yourself, but then also, like growing and you as a human being and helping yourself be the best person that you can outside of business. Because that's not easy. It's really not. In this industry, it's beautiful. It's made me who I am, but I struggle with, insecurities just like any other woman does.
I would think that it would be harder for when it comes to people like yourself, when you don't have a product, because you are your product, you are your brand, and it's how to individually create you as the brand and the product, because you're not selling something. Whereas a model who is selling your product, they have to be a model, look great, but sell the product. And you're supposed to look beyond the model, but sell, which is, I don't know how to do that. That has to be quite difficult.
It's
They
not.
don't want them to look at you. We want them to look at the clothes, but you need to look good so that they buy the clothes. It's like, I don't get that.
That's why we spend 2 hours in hair and makeup. They don't just look at the outfit. They look at the whole thing, for sure.
So that being said, so as a model and social media star, because you have like millions of followers and very organic, what do you think is the advantage and the disadvantage of being in the limelight? Of people seeing you, because I'm sure you have people that just, everyone thinks that, oh, she'll talk to me if I send her a message. If you're seen with anybody on the street, oh, people, it's just how media is. The downfalls, the pros and the cons.
Yeah, it's really funny that you mentioned that, actually, because one thing I thrive on is being exclusive. But inclusive at the same time. So exclusive in terms of where I do not just give my energy to anyone. I do not just, spend time with anybody who wants to spend time with me, because I have to know my worth and my value and what I bring to the table. And, nowadays it really is like you are who you hang around. And, that comes with growth. And over the last year, through different relationships and friendships, I'm thinking, oh no, I can be friends with someone as long as they're good to me and they treat me the right way. It doesn't matter what they do with their life or the decisions that they make. But that's a complete lie. I thought that I could be able to do that, but you don't realize it. But over time, you end up becoming very similar to that person. You guys share time together, and you end up, picking up on things that they do, and vice versa, which is great for them, but it's not so great for you. And it ends up becoming detrimental to you. And, a relationship and a friendship is all about growth and give and take. So if you're not able to get that in a relationship, you need to find new friends. You need to find new people to surround yourself with. And that's something that I've struggled with. I mean, being young, it's hard. You go through life, and especially being, a genuine person, you want to just, be cool with everyone, but it just doesn't work like that. Exclusive decision making is very, very important with who you surround yourself by. So that's something I want to say. But an advantage that comes with social media is the ability, just everywhere, the technology, being able to meet people and connect with people from all over the world. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And it's increased diversity, and it's allowed for growth and for people to make their incomes and make a life for themselves just off solely social media. So that's a beautiful thing. But disadvantages obviously, come with the self-image and insecurities and things you have to deal with not just women who are working 9 to 5 and girls who are in high school have to deal with. Women like us have to deal with it as well. And we actually know what goes on behind closed doors. So I really want women to realize that it's not easy. And I'm a very confident person. I move through life and I know that I can do certain things, and I never downplay anything. Nothing is off limits to me. I know that I can achieve it. And even for someone like that, I still struggle with insecurities just like anybody else.
I'm so glad you shared that, because often, I mean, I see things on social media, and some things I sometimes I think people forget is celebrities, actors, entertainers, sport athletes, whatever they are in the industry, as far as these are like, high profile people, it's still their job. And so people assume that because you have a certain responsibility to us, because of your position, and why they say, well, because you influence. And they said, but if people forget, it's still a job. And then again, like my mother used to say, and I tell my kids, I said, it's who you hang around with, and you might see them as a great person, but what they do, even if you had no involvement in what they did, it follows you. And I'm finding that if you're in the entertainment industry, someone could have done something that and somehow your name gets caught up forever, and you're like, gee, they had even nothing to do with me. So I see that, and it just sometimes you kind of feel, I think it's great to have the careers that people in the entertainment industry have, but then I think, God, I wouldn't want it.
It's a lot. It is definitely a lot, and things follow you in this industry, especially in LA. It's a very small world. You can't do anything, step out with anyone, hang out at certain spots without you being associated with something or whatever the case is. And it's not just in this industry, but just everywhere. I feel like, women and even men need to realize, who you hang around, and that wherever your time goes, where your attention goes. It's very, very important to realize that, because I went through multiple things in my life where not too many things. I'm very, very big on learning from other people's mistakes, and also mine as well. So it's very rare when I make the same mistake twice or 3 times. But I had to learn that a lot over the last couple of years, especially perfect example during the pandemic. I mean, everyone has to stay inside. So you kind of want to cling to who you have in your life at the moment, whether they're good or bad. And that's something that I went through that, was a really big effect on my mental health and my growth, because I had to be able to say, no, I have to step away from this situation because it's not healthy for me. I'm benefiting you and feeding into you, but you're doing absolutely nothing for me. And that's not a give and take relationship. And so it's pointless, and you might as well get out before things get worse.
So if let's say when you come to the end of your career, say, okay, because you are obviously you have a very business mindset background, and you say, okay, I'm going to move on from the modeling and the print. What would you want people to know you best for?
I would say being a boss woman, being an entrepreneur. Seriously, after I'm so grateful, I'm so beyond grateful to God for the opportunities that I've received and the being able to travel the world and model and meet some other new people and connect the way that I have. But I don't want to leave, this industry as like, oh, she was a model and she did great and she was on all these campaigns and everything. I want it to be something that I bring so much more to the table. Like, oh, she was not just a model, she was an entrepreneur, she was an investor, she did real estate, she was a mentor. She is an overall, all around, well-rounded individual. And not just for me to be like that and for people to speak on me and everything. More than anything, she was able to help a lot of women be able to achieve that as well. That's what I want.
I saw your main feature in the Kamal Howard video, which I love that video. I mean, you were really great in that video.
Wait,
And
which
so
one are you speaking about?
Kamal Howard and only one you.
Oh, okay.
See, you forgot. See, I was. Let me tell you, I was looking for. I was everything about. I was like, oh, I'm gonna research it as much as I can because you amazing. And then let me tell you, the twist on that video was, I was like at the end, I was like, holy crap, I loved it. But how did you transition into getting a feature part, a feature part in the video? I mean, how did that even come into fruition? That was a great video. You did great in that video.
Thank you. I think like when it comes to, I mean, I'm very, very grateful for the help of my agencies. So I am signed to 2 different agencies at the moment, who I've been with for a really long time. I signed with Wilhelmina probably close to like a year and a half, actually like 2 years ago. And then I've been with Elite, and I'm still with them. I've been with them since I was about like 20, which was probably about 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. So I'm very, very grateful for my agencies who have been able to help me get to where I'm at and be able to get the jobs that I've gotten. But I'm actually very grateful to say that I've got a lot of jobs of my own as well. And then that's, I feel like, what also helped me, getting into these agencies too. Not only did they see something in me, but I was so determined and I grinded so hard to be able to be seen without the help of anybody else. And that's something I'm very grateful to say because it takes time to be able to do something like that. But I was so hungry. And that's something you never want to lose with your hunger. I wanted it. I was in high school and I used to leave on the weekends and travel to New York and do photo shoots every single day and get back Sunday night just in time for school next day. I grinded really hard because I was like, I know that I can do it. I know I can achieve it. And now I'm grateful to say I'm in LA working, doing what I want to do. And obviously entering different entrepreneurial paths as well, which I'm really excited about.
Is there any tips that you would give someone, because there's a lot when wanting to get into your industry? I'm sure there's a lot of scammers out there and things to look for. And so, and this should just be, I had someone who actually worked in Hollywood a year ago on the show, and he had to do with casting. And he was just talking about all the scams that were out there. And it's so hard to tell because there's so many, and people come to LA and have all these aspirations and but don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What tips or advice would you give, or say, had you run into issues where you're like, something just doesn't seem right?
Absolutely. 100%. I would be lying if I said otherwise. I mean, I think that starting and being in this industry, even over the last like 5 to 7 years, it shifted drastically from what it was then to now, because it's way more accessible now for women to be able to get involved in things. But I always try to tell women, I mean, a perfect example, I mean, music videos. Girls are in
Mhm.
videos, no problem, just to be in the background, whether you're dancing or whether you're like hanging out with the artist or whatever. And I tell women, like, you have to know your worth from day one for people to be able to respect you. You cannot be out and about in the industry and let me just do a couple of these music videos and let me do this, which also you're not getting paid well for those videos as well. And you need to know your worth. If you see yourself as something, don't settle for a couple $100s to be in a 12-hour video set that doesn't represent who you want to see yourself as. And I always try to tell women around me, like, it always takes certain steps to get to where you want to be. And I'm not saying, oh, just don't take anything until you get a really, really big job. It doesn't work like that. You do have to work yourself, but you have to take jobs that are going to represent who you want to be in the future. And that's something that I did. When the mistakes happen as well, there's certain things that I've done that I'm like, I kind of regret doing that. I wish that I didn't do that. But I'm very big on having no regrets, and everything gets you to where you are now. The same way that I told you, and being surrounded by, not just did I compete in pageants with mostly predominantly white women, white, younger girls, but I was not even around different cultures and ethnicities until the age of 14 when I moved to Maryland. And 14, 15, I was around basically, white people my entire life until I was 14 or 15. And so that was a really, really, really big shift for me, because I was just it's funny because it goes back to the same thing with the body image. I'm not the super skinny, tall, high end model, and I'm not the super curvy, thick, model as well. So I'm kind of in this middle place. And the same thing with me being mixed, it's the same thing, because I went from all like white kids, literally the actual percentage was 99% white. So I went from that literally all the way to Maryland, which is actually one of the most states in the country.
Yeah.
And then I'm like around, Asians, Ethiopians, Black people, white people. And I'm just over here like, oh my gosh, I don't fit in anywhere. I don't know where to go. I went through phases where I hung out with different groups of people. Find myself. It was so funny, actually, acting like someone who I wasn't even like at all. And then over time, I was able to find exactly who I wanted to be. And it's funny because I didn't realize that I didn't really find that person until I feel like after high school, which I feel like, I want everyone to realize, have patience, because you don't know, you're not just going to find yourself in high school. That's the most stressful time of your whole life. So I didn't really find that until after I left high school. And then I look back, and I always, would tell younger girls around me, I'm like, move confidently. If there's anything that I could have done differently, don't care what people think. Do whatever you want, move confidently, and be the best version of yourself. It sounds so easy to say, but
I know.
that's very, very vital. And I love to listen to older people. I like them to tell me, like, if there's something you could have done differently in your 20s, what would that be? Something you could have done differently in your 30s, what would that be? And take that into consideration so you can make better future decisions.
If there was a model that you had looked up to, that you as that inspired you, who would that have been?
It's really funny how you say that, because it's shifted. It's shifted, and it's not just over the last 5 years. It's shifted, I feel like, almost every year, because every year, every couple months, a new person comes out that brings so much more to the table, and who's so unique and so beautiful and just different. And model wise, I mean, I have a lot of models who I really do look up to. And it's funny because when I was younger, I used to watch these Victoria's Secret models and be like in love with them. And then looking at them now, I still, they're so beautiful. And a lot of them have gone on to do beautiful things as well outside of modeling. But, I really look at the people who are extremely well-rounded, like someone like, Rihanna, who is able to not just do music, but also be an entrepreneur, start a clothing line, start a beauty brand, be able to be, the voice for women, a voice for the voice, and she's just been so great at being able to maintain exactly what I like to stand for, maintain exclusivity, but be very inclusive at the same time. And so that's one thing that I look at her and I'm like, you're a boss. Like I look up to people like that. You do so much. And I'm grateful to say that I look up to you, and I want to be able to, I want to thrive and be able to reach your level and continue to go up after that as well.
Do you think that, so as for our listeners who may not understand the difference, because you as a print model, can you explain what a print model is?
So a print model is more like, I'm going to see you more on magazines and probably newsletters and things like that. Maybe more campaign stuff that you might see, like I said, in magazines or in, stuff like that, which is a beautiful thing. It's great to be in print. I mean, basically you're on actual, paper, which is in a sense very different from today's generation, because it's not really like that as much anymore. Everything is, technology. Everything you see is on your phone now, which is great because it's more accessible. And, being a model, it allows our pictures to be able to be spread out way more globally than it was before.
I think that because I've never been model, obviously, but from back in the day, to be a model, you had to go to these casting calls, and they looked you over, and it was a lot of referral. It's like who versus what you looked and how, just to kind of get your foot in the door. And now with social media, which is a great thing, just like even in music, you can actually be seen just through social media and how you're presented on social media, and possibly then people to see you and be picked up, and brands to be picked up. Hey, can you wear my clothes? Can you, just because you have a large following, do you think that is a plus because now you don't have to go through all the obstacles? Or do you think maybe you should go back to some the way that it was when you have to, you go in and you go to a major, and I'm just like Ford or whatever it is, and these major modeling companies, and they look you over. Do you think it's gotten better because now people can just use social media as their advertisement, I guess, to say, and to be seen and possibly be connected with like high agencies like yourself?
You know, I feel I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like it's good. I think there's positives and negatives in both of them. I do think that, I mean, nowadays it's a lot easier to be able to be seen and to get famous, which can be such a pro for so many people because it's not as hard as it used to be, and it's able to give you the platform to be able to be seen easier, which is amazing, right? But then some people who have that ability to be able to be seen and be famous, are they really representing what we want as women? You know what I'm saying? And for our growth. And I don't think, like, a lot of, women who are able to, and men as well, who are able to be seen and be able to get on that platform, it's amazing for them, but are they really bringing something to the table that is going to be beneficial for our generation or our society? I don't always think so. So I think sometimes exclusivity is important, and being able to, it's not easy for every single person to be able to have access to certain things in certain places, because maybe it's not meant for that. It's not meant for them to be able to have that platform and be a public figure, because are you promoting the right things? And then on the other hand, I went through the process when I first signed with Elite, which, like I said, was close to like 5 years ago. 5 years ago was different from today, and I actually had to go in there, and I got looked up and down. And I remember there was a beautiful, like, 6-foot model, beautiful skin, slim, just like gorgeous. She looked like she literally was on the Victoria's Secret runway, and she was there. And I remember seeing the agent come out from Elite and being like, okay, we're not interested. Thank you, though, and hands her other agencies in the area. And I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm 5'6", and I'm over here like, oh my gosh, there's no way she's gonna like choose me, or they're gonna work with me. Because I called earlier. I was, one thing I always want to tell people: always have the audacity and always have the confidence to ask, because you never know. If you don't ask, it's 100% no every single time. So for me, I literally called Elite, and I was like, I work for a lot of these brands, and I feel like I should be signed, and I want to come in for a casting call. And they were like, well, how tall are you? And I was like 5'6", and they were like, that's too short. We don't sign anyone under 5'7", 5'8". And I was like, well, I really think that I have a lot of potential, and I think you guys need to see me. And she was like, okay, like, you can come to the casting call at this time. And I was living in Miami at the time, right? And so I was like, okay, like, I was like, after I got off the phone call, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just did that. And so I ended up going into the casting call. And then that's when that experience happened. And it was just me and her, in the Elite office. And she left, and I was like literally choking. I was like, oh my God, this is so scary. And then she looks at me. The front desk woman comes up, and she's like, you have a casting call? I was like, yeah. She's like, are you meeting with this person? I said, yes. And then they were like, how tall are you? And I said, I'm 5'6". I know you guys don't sign anyone, blah, blah, blah. And she was like, okay. But the agent I spoke to on the phone was like the head. So it's crazy. You never know. I told her, and I was like, no, I think I need to come in. And so then she ends up taking me back, and I end up seeing like the head agent at Elite. And she literally was like, oh my gosh, I love you. You're amazing. You're this, you're that. And I was like, really? Like, I was so like, I was starstruck, and I was like, wow, and it's like, you never know what people are looking for. And she loved me, and I signed a contract that very same day.
Because of the competitiveness in the industry, and you would think that it's just the of what the actual agencies are looking for. What about the competitiveness, like model to model? And I'm sure, I've seen movies, I don't know, I've seen things and things that they do and say, or to have people miss appointments, or, to interfere. And that's just from what I see from, movies, and seeing from following people, and reading their stories of things other models did to them or to make them look bad. I mean, is there really still that kind of thing? Like, you'll have someone that just doesn't care for you and is like, oh my gosh, she's going for that part. I've got to figure out a way for her. You know what I'm saying? And how can they make it difficult for you? Or even there could be agents out there and they know that you're a competition, to their client.
Absolutely. I've definitely had a couple negative experiences with some agents. I'm grateful to say I have an amazing team now, but it was not always like that, And more than anything, I actually feel as if I dealt with some sort of racism as well when it comes to the modeling industry, because a lot of agencies, you wouldn't really realize it, but they sign basically mainly white girls, and you have these agents who are sending out their models to these different brands, and the brands are like, oh, we have interest in, let's say these three girls or whatever, but you don't know the agent may favor one of their models a little bit more than the other and push them a little bit more, because at the end of the day, they're still getting their 20% regardless, because we're all the same agency. So I've dealt with things like that, which is very unfortunate, but I think we're making a big shift, because currently I do not deal with that. I've been in the modeling industry for some time now, so it hasn't been like that lately. So I'm grateful to say that. But the modeling industry is very catty. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm grateful to say that I have a lot of the models I work with currently are great. They're amazing women, and a lot of them are thriving and doing their own thing, whether that's a brand or whether that's investing or whatever. Which I love to be able to help other women do that as well. So it's nice seeing women grow and seeing the modeling industry change, because women, I feel like they would go to work, come home, and live their life, and that's it. But a lot of girls are trying to bring more to the table nowadays. Beautiful. But it is a very catty industry, and I feel like one thing I prioritize is I like to go to work and focus on my work and leave from there. I always, when you're around people a lot, you want to be able to make friendships and be able to be a little bit personal sometimes, because you're around them so much. I mean, I work with like a good set of like 10 to 20 different makeup artists, and it's like it's hard not to be close with them because they're in your face like every single day. So I mean, you have to, in a way, get close to these people and be able to be on cordial terms. But I think it's important not to be too distant and not to be too close, because at the end of the day, it is work. And I think that's something that I prioritize. And I actually will go to work. I'll do my work. I'll say hi and bye and keep it pushing when I go back home, and continue to work on myself, because their life does not concern me, and it should not be vice versa as well. And sometimes that comes with pros and cons, because sometimes they will look at you and think, oh, well, she's stuck up, or she's this, or she's that, if you don't say anything. So really you can't win. The best thing to do is focus on yourself and move what is best for you, how you personally like to move. If you like to get a little closer to people, if you like to be a little bit more distant to yourself, do whatever is best for you, because people are going to talk either way. So
well, I know we're coming close to the end of the show. You are just such a lovely guest, and I'm hoping, and I'm sure we're going to see more of you, on magazines and film, and I'm hoping commercials and everything else, because I want to say I had her on the show, and then when you pull out set to say, yeah, I'm seeing you in movies and films and commercial and everything else. That would be so great to see.
Yes, I'm excited. It's going to be an amazing journey. It's just getting started.
Well, for everybody who has been tuning in, thank you so much for tuning in. And especially to you guys, I didn't say this in the beginning, and I always say this. I want to thank to all of my listeners, because the downloads have been so good. And, because of those downloads, I get amazing, amazing guests on the show. So I want to make sure that if you were not watching live on the live stream, and we're now streaming on Roku and Daily Motion, as well as a lot of other social platforms. If you are on one of your podcasts, just go ahead and check out the website. The interview will always be there. And then you can follow Gallienne herself and watch all her success and as she grows and everything she's doing in the future.
I really appreciate it.
So that's Thursday, everybody. Bye. We're going to check out.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And we're going to